Good morning, traders and investors. Steve Gans here. And I want to take a look at our markets, do the weekend update market analysis. It is Sunday, January 19th. And just to take a quick look at what happened over this last week, as you recall, last Sunday we were down in this area. Let's see if I can get my pen working here. Last weekend we were down in this area here, and I was talking about whether or not we were going to just blow out of the bottom. But my suspicion was that because we had this support here and we were at the bottom of this overall channel, my expectation was that we were likely going to get some form of a bounce. And that is what happened. Now we bounced up, and you see in my channel here, there's this dashed line. That's a 50% retracement. So my expectation in most cases is, you know, around a 50% retracement, you're going to start to get a little pause in the market. You can see we got that here, and then we gapped up, and then we came back down and we paused at that 50%. So 50% many times can kind of be a little bit of a resistance or a support area. But the fact that we're here at 50% and we are at prior resistance makes me think that we're more likely than not to either chop sideways or roll over a little bit. Now, I could be totally wrong. We could break through and we could end up back in the upper half of this channel. I'm just not thinking that's going to happen right now. I would give that about maybe a 30% chance that we would get up to that level. I also think there's probably about a 30% chance of chopping sideways here, and probably about a 40% chance that we're going to drop back down. Then the big question is going to be, are we going to drop out of this channel or not? Will we stay up in that channel? So obviously my hope and expectation, particularly for long-term portfolio, is that we do, in fact, continue to stay into this general channel on SPX. Now that we've taken a quick look at SPX, let's come in and we will look at the VIX, the volatility index for the S&P 500. See what that looks like. And that's looking pretty good. As you can see, VIX has dropped back off here. We're not quite to the lows of 12, 13, etc., but I wouldn't expect to be really with the inauguration here this next week. And of course, we're going into earnings season, which is going to have a pretty big impact on what that trend in the SPX ends up being. Are earnings going to be good? That will certainly help fuel a further increase, or are earnings going to start kind of topping out, maybe even fall off a little bit? Those are going to be some things that we're going to have to closely. But for right now, volatility is relatively low, which helps us think that we're more likely to either chop sideways or go higher. There's not lots of people buying insurance right now on their portfolios, which is essentially what spikes the VIX up. So let's take a look at the Russell, and we can see similar story here in the Russell. Now with the Russell, we did break out of the bottom of this channel, but that's happened a few other times here where we blow out the bottom. This one is a little more out the bottom than the other ones, and it has retraced also to a prior resistance area that's been drawn. So for the Russell right now, I'm thinking that it's more likely to roll over and probably come back out of this overall channel. Now, we're going to have to watch really closely to see whether or not it blows down through this prior level. That would certainly be problematic if it did do that. I don't expect it to at this point based on what I'm seeing in the market. But it's certainly a possibility, and that's something that we have to remain aware of, remain cognizant of as we're evaluating the overall market. So let's take a look at the RUT volatility, which is RVX. We can see right here the Russell Volatility Index, and that volatility is also quite low. Again, overall, that's a pretty good sign that tells us that there's not a lot of people right now that are buying insurance on their Russell-related positions. So that also kind of lends to the fact that we're less likely to be looking at a big drop right now. So that's kind of what we're looking at in the main market indexes. Of course, earnings is going to be a big factor in this overall situation. Right now, I remain kind of more a little bit to the neutral bullish side than I am the bearish side, but that's kind of what the charts are telling me at this point. So thanks for tuning in for the weekend market update.